Feels great. It's I always say every year, kind of when football ends, you kind of just don't know what to do with yourself. You got so much free time, and it's just so much sitting around. And for a couple of days are good. To be able to relax and let your body kind of recover and get back to full speed. And then kind of waiting around for those next extra couple of days. You want to get back on the field and start getting ready for this bowl game. And these last couple of practices, we really started to get in our Kansas State prep, and I really like the game plan that we have, and we're just excited for the opportunity. Well, first off, they're a real disciplined team. I think everybody knows that. That's how Kansas State has always been, under Coach Snyder. And the main thing about them and what we've kind of said to our team is, they're going to make you win the game. They're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to have a bunch of penalties, not a bunch of turnovers. That's not their game. That's not what they do. So, it's going to be on us to go out there and execute. No turnovers, no penalties, and go out there, play smart football, and go out and win the game. Very important. I think it's very important, especially going into next season, and that's what this game pretty much is. It's it's the start of next season, and last season's already behind us. We won't go back and look at that. Everybody's moved on, and I think that's been really good. Everybody's kind of forgot what happened, and we move on. This is a new season. Everybody's prepping well, so I kind of like where our mindset is right now. Obviously, there's a little disappointment. You want to make a New Year's Six game, but nobody's going to walk around here and sulk and show that. Like I said, I like everybody's mindset right now. Everybody's excited to go down the road and pretty much play in, I'd say, about 50% of the team's hometowns. A lot of guys are from Houston, so everybody's excited about going back and playing in front of their family and their friends, and playing in a bowl game against a big time team. Without a doubt, obviously the first game there was a big game, and we got a big time win as a team there against ASU, and especially when we talk about it in the special teams room and the punt return. We've already had one in that stadium, so our goal is to get another one, and then obviously offensively, we want to go out there and put on a show as well, and go out there and execute, and like I said, kind of hit the ground running for next year. I think the biggest thing was when we first started bowl practices, we had about 3 or 4 developmental, practices where we got the young guys, the redshirt guys, a lot more reps than they saw all season, because they were, over there helping out our defense on scout team, and they weren't really able to develop themselves when it comes to the plays and techniques. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, was to go out there and help those guys, help them learn the concepts, help them learn the zones, and just kind of form their technique for next year, because we're going to need those guys a lot. We're going to be losing, a couple of receivers, so we're going to need guys to step up, and we're going to have to work as a group. And so we're not going to be able to rely on, just 1, 2, or 3 guys. It's going to be a whole group effort, and that's kind of where we want to be, especially as a receiver group. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, was just help lead those guys and kind of teach them and show them the ropes for next year.